welcome. Here we are another day. It's been a few days since I've made any videos, or really done any programming actually. Let me see, make sure that the audio is working and the video is working. Just a moment. Let me see, make sure that it's going. All right. So, I am going to I have what do you call that? I have man, I struggle with many things. I have to say. I struggle with many things. I sometimes have a hard time when someone is making fun of me. I don't realize it, that they're actually being like rude, or disrespectful. Believe it or not, which is kind of a weird thing. I don't know, thought just struck me. I was looking at some of the comments in my old video, and I think someone was insulting me or intended to be an insult, and I assumed it was a joke, and commented back a joke that was not really a very funny joke, but it was, just commented back as kind of, oh, haha, kind of a thing, and they didn't comment back or even like the comment or anything. It occurred to me that like, oh, because you would, as you make a joke with someone and someone makes a joke back, you at least acknowledge that like, yeah, it's just, it's a playful thing. But I don't think that was really banter as much as it was. I think the person was just being insulting. I thought about it. I was like, thinking about it right now. Actually, like, I should be a little more, aggressive. I think with that sort of thing, where it's like if someone's gonna be rude, you just tell them go away. Like, leave me alone. Don't be rude to me. Yeah, and then other things that I have to deal with are I have like a lot of stuff in my personal life that are very difficult for me to deal with, and yeah, I just haven't really been thinking about programming at all because I'm kind of like got these other things I got to deal with. So I don't know, man. I think I might have to start my own company. Like, I don't think I have a choice. The deeper down the hole I go here, the more it's like, yeah, you're just not. Like, it's not gonna work the way you would like it to, the way you think it's gonna work. It's just not how it works. Yeah. Anyway, maybe I shouldn't get into so much detail with that. I mean, it's only been, here we go, 3 minutes here of talking about these things. Let me get into this question. I want to solve the 25 more questions here. Also, something that really annoys me is like I've never, over like I don't know how many years, I've never been able to get past like a third of the questions on LeetCode because they just add more. They just keep adding more. It's like there was a time where it was only like 1,500 questions, and it was like, oh, you might be able to solve all these questions. Like, no, like your real life pressures are too severe for you to ever actually be able to sit down and spend the time and get this done. There's like too much pressure in just my real life. Yeah, the problem that I'm running into specifically, those of you who are curious, because it is relevant, I guess people want to be software engineers, is that I keep trying to get a job, and they keep rejecting me, and they make a different excuse each time. And the most recent excuse seems to be, oh, you don't have enough experience in XYZ technology, which is retarded. I mean, it's bluntly retarded. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, it's just really stupid. Because one, you're not going to know everything as a software developer, and that's true for everybody, regardless of how good they are. And number two, most of the stuff you learn it while you're working with it anyway, and you're not gonna know everything about that thing, even if you do have some experience with it. A lot of the skills you have are translatable, right? Like, a lot of the languages are similar, a lot of the technologies are similar. Like, if you have experience with a technology that's similar but not the same, obviously that should count on some level towards whatever requirement that you've come up with. And again, like, the requirements are pretty I mean, like, the people are literally just guessing, quite frankly. Like, they're just making educated guesses as to what they think you'll need. And it's like, yeah, it's extremely disappointing that like you've got people guessing at what they want and need, handing those requirements down to recruiting staff, and the recruiting staff takes it as like a hard requirement, and like you just get passed over like really aggressively. I think it's more to it than that. I don't think it's just the reason. There's got to be more than just like really dumb excuses to not hire someone. I mean, it's got to be something else that they're just not telling me. Because again, it's like, why would you even interview somebody if they don't have what you're looking for? Like, why would you even bother? Which some of them are at least just rejecting me out of hand. But then again, it's like, all right. I mean, I've like dedicated my life to being a software developer. It's pretty fair to say that at this point. Like I've done that. Like I got the degree. I worked for 4 years. I've been programming since I was 15. Like I've done thousands of questions online. Like I've done this. I've done that. I've done a million different things. It's like, okay, why am I getting rejected just out of hand constantly? Like this is there's something going on here. I think I know what the answer is. It's just they're not very honest, the people I'm dealing with, about what the actual reason is. I think that's what it is. So anyway, that's very bitter. It's very frustrating too, because I have friends and family who kind of don't really get it. Like I can explain to them what the problems are, and they will also make other excuses as well. And it's kind of like they're not very helpful. So that's I think that hurts more. That's really causing me a lot of trouble, a lot of pain. That I don't really understand how deep this thing goes. I suppose. How deep the rot is. It's like it's just. So anyway, I mean, like I have to live somehow. I can't just because that's the thing. It's like, okay, look, they want me to have a year of experience with this or a year of experience with that or whatever. It's like I can't just not get paid for a year and go work on that. Like I need to do something to make money. I can't just starve to death. Okay, I starved to death, but like I also have a year of experience in that thing now. It's like, no, it's not. I will be dead. Like I need to eat. Need food, need money for food, need money, need a job. Can't just arbitrary demands that you can't be really realistically be met. Yeah, and they're just not realistic, and they're just like not even really sane requests either, because it's kind of like, if this person they have experience, like relevant experience, they have experience with a technology that's not exactly what you're looking for, but it's really close. It's like almost the same thing. Like it's literally like, this person studied C, they studied C++, but you want C, right? It's that kind of thing. Or, well, that may not be a great example, but something similar to that sort of thing, where it's like, those, obviously, if you know C++, you're going to know C. You maybe don't know everything about C, but you know quite a bit about C just from the get-go. If you know SQL, you're going to know a little bit already about TSQL, for example, which I actually studied TSQL. Anyway, yeah, it's really bitter. It's like it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. You have technical recruiters that are not technical people, and they just have no idea. They're literally just line by line, like just what does it say on the request? What does this person say they have? That's it. They don't have exactly what we're looking for. Okay, not hiring. Which is like it's kind of demented, actually. Retarded. Really irresponsible. Which, yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing. Forgive me, I'm like lamenting now instead of like working on this stuff, because it's really hard to do anything, quite frankly, when you have things like this going on. Because you're like, hey, like I just want to be a software developer, I just want to get a job, and it's like, no, like you're not going to get a job. Like, why? Because the people you're dealing with are really irresponsible. They just don't really have a lot of wiggle room dealing with these people. Which, unfortunately, though, life is messy and difficult, and things don't often go the way you'd like them to or you expect them to, and without a considerable amount of give and take, if it's just all take from the other side, you're just not going to make it. It's just not going to happen. And again, I'm become aware of why it's all sort of all take from the other side. You know, you got to look at the people at the top. Who are they? What are their motives? Why they behave the way they do? Those sorts of things. Are they even your own ethnic group? And if they're not, what implications might that be? What does that mean for you, right? If those other people, those other ethnicities don't want you around, in particular, which some of them have said that they don't publicly in various ways. It's like, if your employer actually wants you to die, it's gonna be hard, right? It's gonna be hard. Which is probably not the case, and probably not what I'm running into with all of the companies and all of the people I'm dealing with. Like, I do think it's, I don't know. That's the thing. One has to wonder. The main thing is that because the people at the top are not accountable, right? That filters all the way down through the whole organization. And so if you have people that are being not very charitable during their interviews with you, right? That's not going to get dealt with, right? Because the people at the top don't necessarily care. So why would that matter? Yeah, it's all very bitter. So forgive me. I would like to just be working on something, instead of complaining. or thinking about, complaining. I don't know how to express it. It's another thing too, is like, I'm not really complaining about this as much anymore. I complained about it a lot when I was younger. It was very bitter, but it's becoming very much, each day it becomes more clear that, like, what the problem is and what I'm going to have to do. I kind of don't really have a choice with some of these things. And it's kind of just foolish to be like, what, the people that want to kill you, what are you going to just ask them to stop tormenting you, torturing you? It's like, that's not how it's going to work. It's not going to work like that. So anyway, life is very hard. Life is struggle. And it's a bitter struggle. It's a very bitter, long, bitter struggle. And the goal is to embrace the struggle and just defeat your enemies. Quite frankly, put it bluntly, beat your enemies in open combat. Way to go. Anyway, given m by n matrix of ones and zeros, return how many square submatrices have all ones. Okay, interesting. How many? So there's a way to do this. I've thought about this question. Pretty high acceptance rate, high number of submissions. It's a little weird. This is not that easy of a question. Surprised that it has such a high. But there's one way of doing this that I think is pretty good. You could just write top to bottom DP solution where you save. You look at the left side above and the top and above and to the left. You say, okay, whatever those numbers are, the number that you're calculating is going to be, what's the size of the largest square submatrix that's all ones. And you can look at those three previously calculated values and take, the minimum of those three and add one, right? If you have a one. If you have a zero, then you just write zero there. And what's going to happen is that you could just go top to bottom, left to right, and write the DP that way, and that should work fine. But to calculate the number, so that's the size of the squares of matrices of all ones, but to count how many there are, and that would be linear in the size of the submatrix. To count how many there are, what's tricky about that is that square matrix that you're looking at, it has its bottom right corner at that point that you're considering. To count the number of those squares, I think it's actually going to be exactly that size. So, like in this case, it's just a 1 because size 2 is not a square. And then, but in this case over here, right, you have 1 square, but then you also have a square here, right? This square. So this will be 2. You just add the 2. So I think you could just take the sum of all of those values using a DP. And in fact, you don't need to DP the entire array or matrix. You could also optimize on memory a little bit, where you only need to do row by row, because you only need the previous, above, and the above previous. So you could use 2 buffers to calculate these numbers, and the total can be the you can write to the buffer and then at the end take the I think you don't, you can calculate it as you go too, the sum. As once you write it to this buffer, then you also add it to the total, the running total. So you could just use 2 DPs, I think 2 DP arrays. Yeah. Yeah, M is, and I think these are non-empty, right? Yeah, non-empty. Okay. So I think that's a simple way to do it. M rows and columns. We're going to say DP is going to be the size of DP1, DP2. These are both going to be M rows, each row of size n, right? DP1 plus n. Fill that with zeros. DP1, DP2. So now we're going to say each row, each column, and then there's a result, right? And return that result. Also, another thing I really resent is this idea that you have to be familiar with certain pieces of technology, or else you're not going to be a good worker. It's really dumb. Again, same issue I was describing before. This heavy, intense focus on specifically what technologies you've used is really dumb. Really dumb. You should be looking for how smart is this person, how capable is this person. That's that's not that hard to measure, quite frankly. It's not that hard to get a sense of that. Yeah. Anyway, I'm spending too much time talking about that, quite frankly. But yeah, the buffer, to swap the buffer, we're going to do a copy and fill. So copy from DP2 to back to DP1. And I think it's going to be a fill as well for DP2 back to zeros. Yeah, and the first, is that right? There's another issue here. I think we want to make these 1 extra element, and the first element has a 0. Is that right? Yeah. We actually want to start off at 1. And the reason why I'd want to do it this way is because I'm looking to the left, I'm looking above and to the left. And I don't want to write code to handle the case on the left side edge, right? I could just add an extra element and simplify the code a little bit there. So we can say DP2 is of C is going to be the minimum plus 1 or 0, or really just or 0. The minimum plus 1, we'll come back to that, of DP, not DP, matrix of row column at that position. Excuse me. Yeah, we're going to subtract 1 from C, which is confusing, but it is what it is. Yeah, that should be right. Let me think about that for a minute. Does this work the way I'm trying to do it? if this is equal to a 1, you know, if this, well, yeah, okay, that's fine. Just multiply by that. Okay, this is what it's supposed to be, right? We'll just, hold on. We'll go back to this for a second. There's a moment, something here to consider. So the minimum of it's going to be dp1 of c minus 1, dp1 of c. So dp1 is the row above. So c minus 1 is above and to the left, and dp1 of c is above, and dp2 of c minus 1 is just to the left, right? What's tricky here, and then also just say constant val. And then set this to this value, and then result plus equals value. Okay. The tricky part, as you can tell immediately, is c minus 1 is going to be 0. Not 0. It's going to underflow, index underflow when you're on the left side of the arrays, the initial left side. So having all zeros is fine to the first array. That's the row above. That's not an issue. But the first element of each column should be a 0. Of dp2 should just be 0, which I fill it with zeros anyway, so it's not a problem. But it is a problem because I think I need to increment this by 1. That's kind of what I'm getting at. And then the issue I run into is that this is no longer in the same spot, which this is fine, actually. This is actually correct. So these elements will be but this gets confusing too now. So I have to do c minus 1 here to get the right spot in the matrix. But then where does that translate to in the DP arrays? I think it's actually, I think it's just C. And C minus, like I think it's just as it is, right? Yeah, there's like a couple translations going on here that are not obvious. So I added one element to the array, dp2 array, but I also shifted C over by 1 as well. So these inputs don't change. The indices, not a problem. I just need to make sure the C minus 1 is there. That's all. I think that's correct. It's a little bit awkward, but I think that's it. Yeah, it's not easy to kind of ensure that's correct. It's not the most obvious thing. Yeah, that's it. That's the whole thing. Pretty kind of easy. Kind of easy. Oh, hello. Let's go in Dior. Dior, hello. With a compiler, of course. Where's that coming from? Why? Oh. This just needs initializer list. Alrighty. How are we doing on time? 24 minutes runtime error, okay. Dynamic stack overflow. Okay, maybe I'm wrong about, oh, this is, I don't know. This should be here. What's going on? Why am I getting a runtime error? I wasn't expecting a runtime error. I don't know why that's happening. M rows and columns. Why? Yeah, messing around with this sort of thing is tricky for sure. Oh, that's why. Duh. Have to actually add the extra element. That's why. There we go. Okay. I think it's it. I don't think it's more complicated than that. I think it's the whole thing. I probably could have done this a lot faster, but I don't know. Wanted to chat a little bit, I guess. I'll just add a few values, just a little more confidence. All right, let's try those. I think I can submit this. It's probably correct. I'm gonna go for it. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I didn't really think it all the way through. Oh, got it. Okay. Yeah, it's like really straightforward. It's a very straightforward question. All right, I'll submit it 4 more times and then we'll go to the next question. What I'll do is I'll restart the stream on a new question. Not the fastest solution. It's reasonable, but not the fastest. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe for more. Just 90%. That's pretty good. Okay, it's reasonable. It's reasonable. I think 2 more submissions, and then 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. All right. Thank you for watching, and we'll go to the